Oh, hey, good morning, good afternoon, everybody, depending on which part of this beautiful country that you're in. You're watching Rebel Roundup. I'm your host, Sheila Gunn Reid, and I'm joined by my co-host, Tamara Ugolini, with her cat in her studio. Better her than me for once. Tamara, how's it going?
Good. I have this super needy cat beside me here who just could not resist making his way to fame today. This is
Hey,
Jack
kitty.
for everyone at home who may or may not like cats. It's a very also controversial topic, but
Yeah.
this is Jack, and he is drooling right now as I pet him because he just cannot satiate himself otherwise. Requires constant human contact and interaction. Otherwise, he thinks that the world is ending. So, welcome to Rebel Roundup on this wild Thursday afternoon. How are you doing over there, Sheila?
Oh, it's great. You know what? I don't know where Trigger is, but he usually makes an appearance on the live stream about once a week. So I was not a cat person before, but this little cat has
Right?
captured my heart for some strange reason. I'll tell everybody what we're doing around here, and then we'll get right into it because there are some crazy things coming out of the Toronto Police Service. And
Yes.
I just want to give a quick apology for why we're late today. The late start is a Sheila problem. I had a scheduling conflict on something else that I'm working on. You guys are going to find out about it right away. But I had to sort of interview two people at the same time, and the only time that they could make it happen was 11 o'clock Mountain. So sorry, I'm a little bit late. Thanks for your patience with us. But if you are watching us on Rumble, and you want to get involved in the show, and I think you might. The stuff coming out of Toronto is crazy, but also not all that surprising when you think about it. But if you are watching us on Rumble and you want to get involved in the show and support the work that we do, you can leave a Rumble red. If it's over the $5 US cutoff, we're reading it on air. If it's under that, we'll do our very best to get to it, time permitting. But Tamara and I both have the same meeting to go into right after the show. So again, we'll do our very best. We might have to tighten up some of the topics that we're talking about today. But if you prefer to watch us on YouTube and you want to get involved in the show, same rules apply, but their paid chat is called a super chat. Or if you miss the live version of the show and you want to leave a comment, a paid comment, it's called a super thanks. And every little bit helps us here at Rebel News. You know, we'll never take a penny from the government to do the work that we do. So we rely on you at home. I think it protects our independence, and I think it helps you trust us, right? We're not in the pocket of anybody at all. So I guess that's that. Toronto police, this morning, they held a press conference that Toronto police officers were involved in some gangland style corruption ring, and they unlawfully accessed personal information. And so we've got 7 Toronto police officers, holy, facing organized crime charges. And we've got a bunch of clips here. I think we should talk about all of them. This is
Yeah.
crazy. This is Chief Jim McSween.
And we will not rest until we are sure corrupt criminal actors and anyone abusing their power as a police officer is held accountable. While this is a deeply disappointing and sad day for policing, this investigation also underscores the insidious, corrosive nature of organized crime. It highlights how these criminals find a way to infiltrate even the most well-protected institutions across our society. The impacts of organized crime in our community, on our safety and well-being, cannot be understated. In this case, as you will hear shortly from Deputy Chief Ryan Hogan, investigators allege that Toronto police officers had unlawfully accessed personal information. This information was then funneled to other criminals who carried out shootings and other violent offences. The investigation also uncovered evidence of other illicit activity, which will be outlined by Deputy Chief Hogan. This news is both shocking and completely unacceptable. Corruption has no place in policing. It's never and will never be tolerated.
That's
I see a lot
crazy.
of people in the comments, though, who are like, where are the names?
Yeah, that would, yeah, yeah.
And I mean, this is only a few months after, I believe it was the York Regional Police who told people to leave their key fobs at the front
Right.
door if they were facing, the imminent threat of an intruder. When as the province of Ontario goes through this string of carjackings from people's driveways, from their garages, like just in the middle of the night. Um, and in order to appease the criminals conducting these acts, I believe it was the York Regional Police,
Yeah. I
somewhere in
think
the
it was
GTA
York.
anyway.
Yeah.
They were like, just leave your key fobs at the door with a nice little note and some cookies and offer them to
Yeah.
come right in
Put your
and just,
TV in the trunk so that they don't have to hurt their back ripping it off your wall and stealing it from you while you're at it.
and
Yeah.
fast track now, whatever, several months later. Um, there's a whole host of internal corruption
An
allegations. These are
organized crime
serious.
ring inside the Toronto Police Service. I guess we
Yes.
should be grateful that they caught them.
Mm.
Allegedly, don't sue me.
Better late than never.
I guess. I guess. Um, Now, Chief McSween mentioned that Deputy Chief Ryan Hogan would be giving more details. We've got that clip here.
Mhm.
Over 7 months, this investigation identified and disrupted serious criminal activity in the Greater Toronto Area that posed a grave risk to our community safety. This includes a conspiracy to commit murder, shootings, extortion, robbery, drug trafficking, and firearms offenses. This investigation also has uncovered serious allegations of criminal corruption among police officers. This includes 7 police officers employed by the Toronto Police Service and 1 retired member of the Toronto Police Service. It is alleged that these officers have demonstrated varying degrees of criminality and associations to criminal networks. The allegations of criminal corruption include bribery, obstruction of justice, drug trafficking, theft of personal property, breach of trust, and the unauthorized access and distribution of confidential information. We are alleging that some police officers who were collecting personal and private information unlawfully and distributing it to members of organized crime, which ultimately resulted in serious harm in our communities. Our investigation began in June 2025 when a conspiracy unfolded to murder a member of Corrections Management who was working at an Ontario correctional institution. Over a 36-hour period, a number of suspects attended this member's home in York Region, we allege for the purpose of murdering him. As you will see next, surveillance footage captures the moment that 3 men, masked and armed with a loaded handgun, returned to the officer's home and rammed a police cruiser that was in the driveway.
And 2 cars in front of them just wandering down the middle of the road. Cars coming up behind.
Those are our vehicles. Let's take them down right now. Contain.
Over the grass into a car.
You follow there, Jude?
I have not seen anyone get out the passenger side, and I haven't seen anyone run around the houses. I have containment on the back. Keep doing what you guys do. I'm blocked out for some trees.
What in
Wow.
God's name is happening in York? I just made fun of them 2 days ago because they had some sort of gyrating drag queen on stage, and I made fun of the cops dancing in the background.
That's exactly what's wrong with them.
Yes,
That
thank
is-
you.
That is exactly what is wrong with them, is they're too preoccupied with this woke ideological nonsense that internal corruption with conspiracy to commit murder, like these are serious accusations and
They were going
allegations,
to like
is happening right
they
under
were
their noses.
they were going to kill a corrections officer. Like, and from what I understand, I was doing some poking around online sort of this morning as out between committee hearings with Gary and Andasangari. By the way, I'd love to hear what that guy has to say about it. He's the public
Yeah.
safety minister. But I think they leaked the home address of a cop to the gangs. I get this is insane. We've got our friend Joe Warmington at the Toronto Sun. What a good guy. We've got a video of him addressing both chiefs regarding the conflict of interests regarding internal investigations of the police. It's police investigating the police. Yeah, also, there's also that too.
The deputy just said it, that this started with the discovery of Constable Barnhart, who's a Toronto police officer. And I want to know why you would call the chief of Toronto Police on that when it was your investigation. The minute you call the chief of Toronto Police, now he's in a position where he's got a conflict of interest. And the second part would be to Chief Demke. Why did you not refer this to be investigated outside of the police service? You had 30 police officers from Toronto Police, including professional standards, investigating your own service on something as serious as a police officer having his house shot up. I think it's a fair question. I know it's a complicated matter, but as you sit here and listen to it, it's police investigating police, and it's all in-house. And so how does the public know? And more importantly, perhaps, the officers that are contacting all the media people that are very, very upset about this, they want to know that as well. So it's probably for both chiefs.
Well, let me start. It was imperative for the Chief of Toronto Police to know immediately what we had uncovered about one of his members. And also because we needed the cooperation and the support of the Toronto Police Service to do some of the work inside to help us with the investigation. I can appreciate your question, but I have full confidence in our professional standards bureaus who work hand in hand with one another to do this very difficult work, but necessary work. So that's why I called Chief Demke immediately. And as was said here today, and I will reiterate, we had been lock in step with each other on this investigation, standing shoulder to shoulder, making sure every investigative avenue and resource that was required was committed to this investigation, and will continue to do that beyond today. Chief?
Yeah, thank you, Chief. And Joe, thank you for that question. I think it's a very important one that we unpack for people watching and listening. The Community Safety and Policing Act does have a regulatory framework around conflict of interest, and we adhere to that. In fact, this investigation was led by the York Regional Police. I was not provided an opportunity to make investigative decisions, impact the speed and flow of the investigation. None of those considerations came to me in my role as the Chief of the Toronto Police. That was solely in the hands of the York Regional Police Service. What we did commit to do is maintain the integrity of the investigation and ensure that the York Regional Police had every resource they need, that we could follow every single lead, and make sure that we address every concern that was investigatively uncovered. And I committed to the Chief, and we very expressly talked about there can be no stone left unturned in this investigation. And I committed to provide resources in a way that maintained the integrity of the investigation, but an investigation led by the York Regional Police Service, not by the Toronto Police Service.
Okay, just a quick follow-up on that. Very, very quick. One of the words I'm going to ask it. The second question is, one of the police officers we understand was arrested while on duty or on paid duty. Can you comment on that, even the deputy?
I think in regard to confirming that incident happened, it has been reported that did occur. I will say that, yes, a Toronto police officer was arrested yesterday in that capacity. But it was not related to the actions of the officer yesterday. It was related to the overarching case that we have spoke about.
Okay, so he was arrested on duty.
Yeah, that highlights the severity and the intentional public showing of the arrest, given the severity of the crime, potential crime.
I just don't know why the OPP aren't investigating. Yeah. Instead of like these guys just investigating themselves. Yes, okay, there's 7 officers charged, but maybe the OPP should be the agency of note here. Maybe the RCMP might want to come in and handle this, so you don't have cops investigating themselves with overlapping jurisdictions. They all know each other. Why don't we get another agency brought in here? We have at least two that could come in on this. I'm not an expert, but just on the outside looking in, I don't know if you should be investigating yourself. That seems like something the Liberal government always does. From what I understand, and maybe I missed it in the first clip we showed. So a Toronto cop, I said it was a cop leaked another cop's, but it wasn't a cop that leaked another cop's address. A cop leaked that corrections officer's address to the gang. And then that officer had criminals make 3 attempts to murder him within 36 hours. These guys are working 12-hour shifts to kill this guy. Anyway, let's watch this. This might be something we've already shown, but I didn't catch that in the first little bit. This is the deputy chief.
We are alleging that some police officers who were collecting personal and private information unlawfully and distributing it to members of organized crime, which ultimately resulted in serious harm in our communities. Our investigation began in June 2025 when a conspiracy unfolded to murder a member of corrections management who was working at an Ontario correctional institution. Over a 36-hour period, a number of suspects attended this member's home in York Region, we allege for the purpose of murdering him. As you will see next, surveillance footage captures the moment.
We've already seen this, but I didn't
Matt.
realize that it was 3 times in 36 hours. Tamara, you put a clip in to the chat.
Well, it's and I will preface this with allegedly. But this comes from the Toronto Crime Watch page where I don't know
I
if
guess
we
they're
can share
watching the
this
cops
footage.
now too.
I don't want to share the footage because I think it goes against YouTube's community standards for crime, active crime.
Yeah.
But this was all related to it. It's called Project South. And so this obviously is the Toronto Police corruption investigation. But here, I really like the way that Toronto Crime Watch broke it down. So they write York Regional Police uncovered evidence of numerous unlawful database searches allegedly carried out by Toronto Police Constable. And I like that they named names, but
Good.
allegedly. Timothy Barnhart and other members of TPS. According to investigators, several of the addresses obtained through the improper queries later became the sites of extortions, commercial robberies, and shootings. Authorities allege the confidential information obtained through the searches was shared with Brian DaCosta, Elwin Satanowski, and others believed by police to be connected to organized criminal networks. So in total, 3 active Toronto police officers and 1 retired have been charged.
In connection with the queries.
Yes. And so, and this immediately the unlawful or improper, as they state, queries of RMS, the records management system that the police use, that's their database, points me back to, and I don't want to get too much off on a tangent, but to Detective Helen Gruce.
Right.
The Ottawa Police Service detective who is alleged to have done the same when there was a string of sudden infant deaths in the region, and her job was to probe as part of the SACA unit, the Sexual Assault and Child Abuse unit in the Ottawa Police Service. That was her duty to do that. And so this goes so far above and beyond an improper query,
right?
Like this is active criminality and real evidence of
this is for the purposes to commit murder,
not actually conduct an investigation or ensure that an investigation is conducted properly. This is unfathomable, really. And I would say anyone who's interested, go check out the page. And I think that our own videographer, Lincoln J, also shared some clips. Again, I don't think they're appropriate for YouTube, unfortunately. But this is damning stuff.
Yeah. All right. I think we should hit an ad break and try to see how much we can get to on the other side. But before we hit that ad break, I just want to give you guys a sneak peek of what Efron and Alexa Lavoie have been working on. For those of you who don't know, they snuck away to Cuba. which is kind of an impossibility for an American journalist to do, which is why they don't do it. There's an embargo there. But thanks to Trudeau's old man, Canada doesn't have an embargo with the communist hellscape of Cuba. If you go there for vacation, I want you to know that you're propping up a despicable, tyrannical regime. You may as well go to North Korea, okay? There are plenty of warm places that you can go to where you don't prop up tyrants and communists who abuse their people, just so you know. Yeah, you might get a good flight deal, but think about what that really means. You can get a good flight deal to Kabul. Try that. But anyway, as Canadians, they can go there, but you can't really go there as a journalist, especially if you want to speak to the locals about what they really think about Venezuela, about what the snatching of Maduro means for the Cuban regime, what they actually think about Donald Trump, what they actually think about Marco Rubio. And Alexa and Efron went to Cuba under the guise of being tourists, and they were able to talk to some locals and show you the Cuba that you really should consider before you book that trip to the resort. So here, we'll just show a little clip of this and stay tuned. There's so much more. I think their broader video is more of a documentary style. It's about an hour long, but let's show this and then we'll hit an ad break.
Donald Trump quiere la libertad de Cuba. He wants to hurt, but he don't want the communists. The communists is looking for good. Cuban people smile but don't like it.
Cuba is a failing nation, and you have to feel badly for Cuba.
Maduro está comentando que si Maduro dice de que la droga se guardaba en Cuba, el gobierno cubano va a tener problemas.
El pueblo cubano quiere ser feliz, quiere tener cambio.
Military operation to capture the illegitimate president of Venezuela has put Cuba in the crosshairs for regime change.
Viva Trump, Cuba no hay comunismo.
Tenga pensado que le va a ayudar al pueblo, ¿entiende? Y que cambie la situación cubana. Pero la situación es muy pésima, es muy mala.
Cuba is really a nation that's very close to failing.
Will you make a public commitment today to rule out U.S. regime change in Cuba?
Regime change?
Yes.
Oh no, I think we would love to see the regime there change.
¿Te gusta Donald Trump? No, me encanta. Entonces nos estamos reflejando ahora en Donald Trump.
Do they want freedom from the West or stay with the Castros?
Pero si tienen que intervenir por un bien, con paz que intervengan, porque lo necesitamos.
There is no freedom of expression there, and speaking out against the regime can result in 5 to 10 years in prison.
Internet, no, su internet.
No. Sí. No.
La libertad de expresión, hablar muy bajito, no hay problema, si no preso. Porque si enseñas en Cuba, police, a mí, yo preso. Aquí hay muchas prisiones.
We want to provide a megaphone for the world to hear.
Conocer, tienes que hablar con el pueblo, con las personas, porque si no, no conoces la realidad de Cuba.
We will reveal how the real Havana looks like under their current dictatorship.
Alexa Lavoie and
Efren Flores Monsanto
here for Rebel News. Today we are announcing that we went on a special mission with serious risks. We traveled to an authoritarian state in order to break through the propaganda media machine and the fear tactics used to suppress the locals and bring you the truth from those on the ground.
Los Corea del Norte somos los únicos que estamos lanzados. Ahora mismo estoy en riesgo, podría estar en riesgo, pero estoy hablando una verdad.
If you want to support this important mission, we have launched a website, thetruthaboutcuba.com. Share this to people who wants to see the truth.
Also, while you're at it, please consider making a donation to help offset the cost of this assignment.
Thank you for following us and thank you for your support.
Lo pueden tomar porque tienen.
All right. So I'm excited to see the rest of that. I think you all should be too. The world, or at least the left, they want you to think that the locals would naturally be against Donald Trump because they're against Donald Trump because they're crazy. But for them, America means freedom. And I'm really proud of the work that Efron and Alexa have done to give voice to people in the world would never hear from. And again, this is work that could only be done by Canadian journalists, and only made possible through your donations to thetruthaboutcuba.com.
And not only possible by Canadian journalists specifically, but I think by someone like Alexa and Efron, who can go there and speak and decipher and discern in Spanish with the locals on the ground. You needed to be able to be a Spanish speaker to some extent to conduct this kind of work. And so I think that both of them are so uniquely poised to have done this mission. And I'm so excited also to see the full release. And for anybody who wants to follow along or sign up and make sure that you don't miss that, you can do that at thetruthaboutcuba.com. It's just another nail in the coffin for the fact that socialism does not work. And that's why when you see the far left radicals preaching about communism and socialism, look at Cuba, case in point. And this is where they're at right now. But I do feel, for the people on the ground there that sadly, even if liberation will be a benefit on the other side, things are going to get a lot worse there before they get better. And we know that there's rolling restrictions, blackouts, shortages. So my heart does go out to the people of Cuba, the innocent civilians caught, in this geopolitical crossfire.
Yeah, the socialist utopia of Cuba. Again, quit going there, Canadians. There are other places that are warm that you can go to where you are not enabling human suffering. Go somewhere else.
Although to play devil's advocate, I do know of a few people who travel to Cuba almost only to bring suitcases full of supplies for the locals, and they bring them Tylenol and and pens.
I'm not
and
talking about those
and
people.
Books and so there is a silver lining to some degree. Yes, you are supporting the harsh radical dictatorship, but the local people there are so thankful if you do visit, that you bring a suitcase dedicated to just supplies, basic things that we take for granted here, like having pencils, having clean fresh clothes, Tylenol, medications, bandages, sanitary products for women. These sorts of things are not readily available there for the Cuban people. And so that is a bit of a silver lining. But I think things sadly are going to get worse before they get better.
On the flip side, I'm not sure how much worse it could get there because it's bad. It's bad. Olivia, do we want to do like a real live grown-up ad break, or we just want to keep rolling? I think we should just keep going. Probably.
Yeah, we were late to this
Sorry.
start.
Yeah. I was watching committee and doing other work before I jumped on to the live stream here, and Gary Anandasangri is just getting his butt kicked around all over the place by the conservative members of the committee. Blaine Calkins rolled him up in a carpet and flung him into a ditch, and Michael Cooper completely undid him. And it's pretty clear that this foreign agents registry will not be in place before the next election. If I had to guess, we're 4 weeks out of the next election call because the Liberals are going to strike while the iron's hot and get that majority. I firmly believe we'll be voting by the end of April, which means there's no time to have a foreign agents registry put in place, which means that we will for the fourth consecutive that we know of election, there will be foreign interference at play. And of course, the Liberals aren't going to fix it because it only goes one way to them. And so Gary Nandasangari today, who's apparently learning on the job, not a good way to be the public safety minister, dodges questions about Chinese interference, pivoting to trade, because the foreign interference is largely coming from China. And so conservative MPs are pointing out, well, why is your boss doing all these deals with China and also making policing and security deals with China, like welcoming back the Chinese police stations onto Canadian soil? So they started to ask about that, and then there was interventions from the Liberals and points of order. Gary Nandasangari at one point tried to call a point of order, and someone had to remind him as a witness, you can't do that. You can't be like, excuse me about that question, point of order. It's not how it works. Anyways, let's watch this clip.
So does Beijing respect human rights? Yes or no?
Mr. Cooper, what I will say is that Canada is at a crossroads right now. There's a need and an imperative for Canada to expand its trading relationships, and Canada can do both. Canada could protect and speak out on human rights at the same time.
Minister, I asked
expand
you
its
4
trade.
questions, straightforward questions, of which the answer is no. Beijing communist regime is not a rule of law state.
Point of order. I mean, the committee agreed. Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Chair. I want to listen to the conversation, but we can't have a conversation if we're speaking over each other. We can't even hear the answer. So
There's no answer.
Either
what answer?
we have a conversation or we don't.
Thank you so much. Just reinforcing what I say, we did pause your time, Mr. Cooper, but please keep. You have 2 minutes left. Same or
different point of order.
Different point of order. Yes, go ahead.
The committee actually agreed that we would have 2 meetings on the implementation of the Foreign Influence Transparency Registry, and for that purpose, invite the Minister of Public Safety. I have a hard time understanding how Mr. Cooper's questions have anything to do with what this committee agreed to actually do.
With the greatest of respect to Mr. Wilkinson, who I have respect for, it seems that he must have missed the testimony of Mr. Tay, among others, who have been targeted by the Beijing-based communist regime. And here we have a government, your government, that is entering into cooperation on matters of law enforcement with a regime that is engaged in transnational repression, including in our elections.
I appreciate the intervention.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. They
I'm
don't
sure.
appreciate the intervention that China has in our democracy, though, do they?
No, I have another clip, and maybe if I'll see if I can upload it here, because I sort of just cut it before I had to go do one thing and then do another thing. But Blaine Calkins, conservative MP from Alberta, pointed out to him, like, you're going to handle this registry the way you're handling the gun grab. As in, you're going to be terrible at it, and it's going to be a big, huge, expensive mess. But isn't that sort of how you want it? Because you actually don't want to deal with foreign interference, because you could have. Like, you could have done it before the last election. You could have done it already. You nothing is stopping you from fixing it. But perhaps I suggest that you read this ad from our friends at Rumble while I see if I can find the clip I just cut.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this comes from, as Sheila mentioned, Rumble, specifically Rumble Wallet. And they write, they can cancel your accounts, freeze your cards, decide what you're allowed to say, buy, or support. Big banks and financial institutions have total control, and they use it. That's why financial independence matters more now than ever. Introducing Rumble Wallet. A wallet built for real freedom. With Rumble Wallet, you control your money, not a bank, not a government, not a tech company. Buy digital assets like Tether, Tether Gold, and Bitcoin in one secure place. No permission, no middlemen, no cancel button. And when you want to support the creators you actually believe in, you can use Rumble Wallet app to directly tip content creators securely, instantly, and without interference. This isn't a credit line they can shut off. It's your wallet permanently. Yours to protect your future. Yours to protect your family when the system fails, when institutions turn on their own people. Financial sovereignty is the difference between security and vulnerability. Rumble Wallet isn't about politics, it's about freedom, ownership, and protecting what's yours. So take control today. Download Rumble Wallet now and step away from the big banks for good. True ownership, true protection, true financial freedom. There you have it. And we were gifted, looks like a subscription to Rebel News by Ryder. Thank you very much for that. Always appreciate the support and new membership. Welcome aboard. And we have, I think, the clip.
Yes, it's Blaine
Sheila.
Calkins just making a fool of Gary Nandasangri, which just warms the cockles of my bitter old heart. And Gary Nandasangri is like, you just can't help yourself. And it's, I mean, he makes it pretty easy. So anyways, let's just watch this.
Thank you, Chair. Minister, I asked you the same question twice just moments ago, and I'm surprised at your answer. The question again that I asked you was, after you implement the registry into full effect, will it impede any Canadians from voting? To which you could not say no. I don't know why you can't say no to that question. Why would the implementation of the registry prevent a Canadian citizen from voting?
Sorry, Mr. Calkins, I may have misunderstood your question. My understanding of your question is that this establishment of the registry will, at the end of the day, will.
It's supposed to be a tool to keep foreign interference out of our elections, not to prevent Canadians from participating in the election. Do I have that right?
It is a tool, and my point is it is one of several tools that we have. So on that, I think we could agree. It is a tool, and it's an important tool. And, and once established, it will.
So now that we've established that we understand each other, the question that I have for you then is, are you going to implement this the same way that you've done with your gun confiscation program? Because it seems to me, based on the premise of my previous questions, that Beijing says jump and your government says how high. You pulled those MPs off of that trip either out of a direct request from Beijing or you've done it because you're afraid of Beijing. And it seems to me that your government doesn't understand, just like in the gun confiscation program, who the good guys are and who the bad guys are. So can you reassure me that Canadians will not be affected or impacted with the implementation of your registry program and their ability to vote and participate in our democracy?
You just can't help yourself, can you, Mr. Calkins?
I'm just following up on your initiatives, Minister. When the camera's on and when people are recording, we just want to hear what you have to say.
Okay, that's.
Yeah, Gary Nandasangri. Thank you, Nandasangri. He cannot help himself. I mean,
he's an idiot.
What an absolute disaster that this is our public safety minister, as our public safety is in complete disarray. I mean, you have 7 various members, retired or otherwise, of the Toronto Police Service partaking in some sort of internal crime ring with allegations of conspiracy to commit murder of fellow officers and law enforcement. And you have our public safety minister targeting lawful legal gun owners in the midst. This is textbook Banana Republic stuff.
Yeah. And it's not like they haven't had time to implement a foreign agents registry. Kenny Chu tried to bring it in before the last election. And you know what China did to him? They targeted him for foreign interference organized on WeChat, and he lost his seat. And the Liberals helped amplify that disinformation campaign against him because it went to their benefit. Parm Baines is the guy. That's the Liberal MP who's perfectly happy to take help from the Chinese as long as it meant Kenny Chu lost. And I think he sits on the ethics committee of all things. No joke.
Naturally. Yeah, I think today is case in point why Canadians should hold on to their gun rights, especially as you see the guys who are supposed to be the protectors of the public safety.
The cops are sending the killers to people's houses.
Yeah.
And that guy is our Minister of Public Safety.
Yeah. If you haven't already, please wake up, Canada, because this is topsy-turvy, upside down, bizarro world, banana republic.
We're running out of time. Maybe we should go to finally the most sensical thing the Carney government has done in the last close to a year since he became the leader of the Liberal Party, and that is inviting the vice president's best friend, Jamil Javani, to the White House to try to sort things out. Like, what? Jamil Javani should have been the first person that they were like, Jamil, how do we fix this? What do we do? But no, they didn't, because it doesn't, fixing the relationship with the Americans doesn't actually help the Liberals' election efforts, their re-election campaign, which will be very soon, I believe, because that's all they can campaign on is elbows up, fight the Americans, which I don't even know why we're fighting them. But let's watch Jamil Javani, and it sounds like very successful meetings already, but let's watch his clip.
I'm on my way to Washington, D.C., and I want to explain to you, the Canadian people, exactly why, because you're probably going to hear about it. I'm going to Washington because I want to help Prime Minister Mark Carney be successful in negotiating a trade deal with the United States. Now, that might sound counterintuitive because I am a principled conservative. He is our Liberal Prime Minister. But the reality is that this is not a partisan issue. CUSMA and trade with the United States is so important to the Canadian economy and to our future as an independent, self-reliant nation that conservatives and liberals don't need to fight over this at all. In fact, we need to work together. The leader of the Conservative Party, Pierre Poilievre, has said as much. He has offered help from conservatives to the Liberal government on this issue, and I'm acting on that. In my opinion, this is not about posturing or politics. This is about business and workers. This is about unions and entrepreneurs. This is about whether we have a growing economy with stability for investment and opportunity for our young people, or whether our economy is perpetually in a state of uncertainty. I am kind of sick and tired of the politics on this issue. I'm sick and tired of the posturing and the virtue signaling. I'm sick and tired of people being worried about what someone's going to call you on Facebook or on social media comments, what the media might say. The reality is that there are people suffering right now in our country because of the state of our economy. And in as much as we want Canada to be as strong and independent as possible, the reality is that 3/4 of our exports go to the United States.
Yes.
And if we want an economy that is good for our young people, if we want an economy that supports public services for seniors in our communities, we've got to work with the Americans. There are people who've been running around this country for over a year now, talking about their elbows, flapping about. I just don't find that impressive. I don't find it serious. I take this issue seriously. And as a guy who went to law school in the United States and has a strong network there, I think I have something to offer to help build bridges of communication between our two countries, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm alarmed when I see things like the talking about China and communist governments and doing more business with them. I get alarmed when I see announcements of electric vehicles now being imported into Canada while we have a crisis in our auto industry. I get alarmed in my home community when I see museums in Oshawa, like the Tank Museum or the Auto Museum, offering free admission to GM employees to do everything they can to just stand in solidarity with people whose lives have been turned upside down because of the economic uncertainty, the tariffs, and the lack of a good trade relationship with our biggest trading partner. So yeah, I say this to you knowing what's about to come my way. I know what all the critics are going to say, and I know what all the frothing, elbow-waving, anti-American activists are about to say about me.
What a good dude.
But I just don't care. I care more about you. I care more about the Canadian people, the people who want a future in this country and know that we need serious leadership. The people who believe that you elect people to do what's right and to stand up for you and fight for you above any kind of partisanship. I took this job because I thought there was important work that needed to be done in our country. And I thought that on behalf of the great people of Bowmanville, Oshawa North, I would have a chance to do some great work. And that's my motivation. So no matter what you hear, no matter what they say, I just want you to hear directly from me. I think you deserve good leadership in this country. And I think you deserve people who are going to cut through all the noise, cut through all the posturing and the virtue signaling, and just try to deliver something good for you and your kids. And to me, that's what a trade deal with the United States promises. It promises more stability so that we can grow our economy and that our country can be strong and awesome and live up to its enormous potential. And I think that's what we all want. And that's why I'm going to Washington, D.C. Thanks for listening.
That is so refreshing.
What a good dude Jamil Jivani is. I think he's one of the best conservative MPs already. I think he's excellent at committee, that what he's doing, using his network in Washington to try to heal the relationship. This is excellent. I mean, his riding is hit hard by auto tariffs. He's in Oshawa. But just what a good guy. Like, what a good guy, and not scared of the media, doesn't care what anybody says. I'm just there to help. Excellent. The future is bright for the Conservative Party if Jamil Jivani is around for a long time. And look at this, things already happening. Productive meetings today. Oh, Sheila with the glasses. Okay, I'll read off my screen. Productive meetings today with the White House and State Department. The president asked me to pass along this message. So this is from Trump to us. Tell the Canadians I love them. I'll have much more to say later. More meetings with senators, GM, and others this week. It already begins. So he met with Trump.
You know, and therein, I think, lies the distinct difference between conservatives and liberals, that conservatives are generally willing to put that political posturing aside to achieve the best results for Canadians, and especially just those blue collar Canadian workers, because those are the ones being hit hardest in this time now, in the way that our economy is. And I don't need to repeat any of Jamil's talking. I don't even want to call them talking points, because that was so heartfelt. Like, those were not AI generated nonsense speeches, getting up there, waving, and as he says, like flocking or frolicking around,
flapping around,
thank you.
around. And I'm so glad he called out this anti-American nonsense, because I'm maybe it's different in other parts of the country, but in the West, we don't feel anti-American. We don't identify ourselves as Canadians because we're not American. And that's how Trudeau sort of explains what it feels like to be a Canadian. We don't feel that way. We don't have animosity towards our American friends. We are sick and tired of the fractured relationship. And just to see somebody say that this is not how it is supposed to be, and we've got to figure this out, and I'm going to go down there as somebody new to this situation, instead of sending the same idiots who caused the problem down there to fix it. Very refreshing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Pierre Poilievre could take a chapter out of Jamil's book.
That was the
there.
right tone. That was, who else?
Absolutely.
You know who else talks about this properly? And I'm not just saying this because I like her, but Michelle Rempel-Garner. And she's married to an Oklahoman. He's a veteran. Her kids are American. So she takes, and I think she takes a very Western approach to this. There is no reason for us to be in such a bad way with the Americans, except for the fact that the Liberals have done this to us. And so we have to figure out a way to fix this, and we shouldn't be trusting the Liberals to do it. And I'm glad that Jamil isn't either.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what comes next.
Same
on that front. We have a super chat here from Hoot and Holler 5105 gives $10. Thank you so much. I'm thinking of emailing every Conservative MP and asking, what is a woman? Be nice to know who says an adult human female and who says I'm not a biologist. Yeah, hey, let us know.
Yeah.
Forward that along.
Yeah, you know what? Honestly, I think most conservative MPs are really strong on this issue. I think there was some delegates from some of the like flaky places of the country. If you're referring to what happened at the convention, I think there was some West Coast types and some like Eastern conservative types that were may have helped sway the vote. I know there was some voting problems with the machine, so I think a lot of people might have just given up on that vote, thinking, of course it's going to pass. Like, why wouldn't it pass? It's such a sensical thing. But yeah, you let me know if you hear back some weird things. I'd like inform us, please. I'm sure Lise would like to know too.
And just on that note, I don't know if you spoke about it on maybe yesterday or the day prior on the live stream, but one
yes.
of the first major medical groups to come out against the gender transitioning of children. This comes from the Washington Post, and it features a write-up from the American Society of Plastic Surgeons, who recommended against gender transition surgeries for youths, as I mentioned, becoming the first
Under
major
19.
medical
Like-
association in the US
Yeah.
to narrow its guidance on pediatric gender care. Finally, after however many years.
And these are the people who do the surgeries on, like, they're
Yes.
not part of the vast right-wing conspiracy that I am. These are the people who do the surgeries. Like, these are not your, theology of the body Orthodox Christian types. These are the people who are currently doing the I am jazz surgeries. And they're saying we should be waiting till they're 19 at least.
And they're citing, as it says there in the subheading, insufficient evidence that the benefits, purported benefits, outweigh the inherent risk.
And it's almost like we should have considered these things before we did hundreds of thousands of these surgeries on children already.
How radical of you, Sheila.
Crazy.
All right.
I gotta cringe. I gotta
Daily
cringe
dose
for
of
you.
cringe.
I gotta cringe for you before you go. And it's from Naheed Nenshi, the NDP leader in Alberta, former Calgary mayor, who oversaw the absolute decrepit infrastructure and then didn't do anything about it. Now, like, Calgary has water systems that fail. World-class city. Water systems that fail, boil water alerts, flooding all the time. He never saw it because he was working on a climate strategy. Anyway, we have a clip of him admitting to using ivermectin, horse paste, if you will, if you listen to
Horse
Jason Kenney.
dewormer, remember?
Horse dewormer. Even though you can use it for rosacea, it's used for so many ailments around the world, and it's readily used in the developing world because it's so cheap, like it's pennies a dose or whatever. But anyways, he admits on camera, I forget, I think this is an NDP podcast, so obviously nobody's watching it. He felt safe to say these things, to using ivermectin for I don't know, a bizarre facial condition. I'll keep my jokes to myself. Oh, you don't have the clip? Oh, I think he and Bexty had it. Anyways, there you can find the clip. I thought I put the clip in the chat, but
Remember when the CDC also, I think that was, early in the vaccine rollout because they couldn't have any other treatment options available in order to emergency use authorize rush to market products. They said, like, you are not a horse. There was that social media post that they had that went viral saying, you are not a horse. Don't use ivermectin. And they slandered everybody and called it, as you said, horse paste and horse dewormer. And forbade anyone from taking it and investigated and stripped the licenses of physicians who were trying to continue to prescribe it to their patients. And now we have Nenshi carrying right along.
Yeah, Western Standard, I think, might have even had the video. I know that over at Juno, Keen Bexty had the video. But yeah, it's Nenshi admitting to taking what he's called horse dewormer. To help with a rare chronic face condition. And I am just so full of my little jokey jokes. I'm just gonna keep them to myself. And it's not a horse dewormer. It's like an everything. It's like not only is it anti-parasitic, it does a whole bunch of things. If you have livestock, you've got ivermectin in the cupboard. Like I grew up with ivermectin in the cupboard. It was during a virtual town hall after one viewer expressed concerns about Nenshi's health because his eye had been acting a little bit unusual. He said
Isn't
that
it always?
again, my little jokey jokes have to stay inside today because I get letters from people who say I'm unnecessarily mean to the NDP. He said he had been diagnosed with Morbihand syndrome, a chronic disease that affects the upper 2/3 of an individual's face and causes firm swelling. He said, this is something that's been going on for me for quite some time. If you're going to have a super rare chronic condition, you may as well have one that doesn't hurt, doesn't itch, doesn't impact your eyesight, isn't going to kill you, and is purely cosmetic. He said the challenge is, of course, in this job, purely cosmetic. When you're on TV every day means a lot of kind people go, are you okay? It gives me great ideas about things to take down the swelling on my face. And then Nenshi says, there you go, folks. Ivermectin actually does work for something. So he admits to taking ivermectin for his face. But all back in, I forget, 2023, we have Nenshi tweeting about horse paste with regard to ivermectin. So he tried it for his face, and I guess it works. But when other people wanted to try it for other things, I guess that's when it was horse paste. That's nice. He probably got it prescribed by a private healthcare too, if I had to guess. Off label.
I feel like Nenshi's not the kind of guy that's heading over to his local farm supply store and picking some up and figuring out the dosing.
He's not getting it from the wellness company. Let's just say that. Okay.
Yeah, it seems like he makes attempts at least to make a clear distinction in that quote that he's saying, see, ivermectin does work for some things, alluding that it's more effective off-label for his weird face condition than it is off-label for other conditions that aren't chronic, by the way. He's referring to a chronic face condition, and other people are trying to use it for things that are not chronic conditions. So it's just complete ridiculousness.
With these hypocrites.
Yeah.
Like,
once again, hypocrisy of the bureaucracy.
Yeah. God, but at least it answers my questions about his face. Like, just
for a while there, I was wondering
he
if
looks like hell.
I thought there was maybe some Bell's palsy going on there, but I guess not.
I think that's
we
it.
have
Do we have a
Light
chat?
Y7Z gives $5. Thanks very much. Saw on X. Yarper is advising both parties.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I never I didn't have Stephen Harper on Project Fear on my bingo card, but here it is. Here he is.
He's looking like a lib. So disappointed. Glad Jamil is in America. Next leader of the Conservatives. You know what? After listening to that, what 3.5 minute speech he gave, that was where my mind went almost immediately. I was like, this is leader material right here.
Yeah, I think he's great. I think if he's the future of the party, future looks good. But you're gonna need somebody when we take all those Alberta MPs with us. You guys are gonna have to figure something out.
I'm here in Ontario crying. My don't leave me behind tears.
That's okay. I'll sign your passport. I'll give you a work visa. It's okay.
Thanks.
I think that's a show for today. Tamara, you want to wrap it up? I got a few things to finish up before we have to be in our next meeting.
Thanks everyone for joining us late. Hopefully we went over, so we made up for it. And thanks everybody behind the scenes who make sure that you can find the stream. Thanks to everybody who supports our work and this stream. Don't forget to head on over to The Truth About Cuba, because that is such an exciting adventure and report that will be coming up, I think, later today, if not tomorrow. I know there's just a few loose ends to wrap up, and then it will be out and released. And stay tuned. Back this same time, 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern tomorrow for the Friday panel. So come back then. And until that time, stay sane and question everything.